The third session of today is titled, Driving Towards Carbon Neutral Built Environment. To kickstart the session, may I invite Architecture Donald Choi, Executive Director and CEO, Chinachem Group, to kickstart the afternoon session with his presentation. Please welcome Architecture Donald Choi.
Hello, good afternoon. Again, I think we are all believers in this topic. When we are here, spending a whole afternoon trying to learn more and see what we can do to enhance, the green building and build a more sustainable environment. Again, I'm very honored and thank BEC for inviting me to share my thoughts on how to drive towards a carbon neutral built environment. We all agree about the critical role we all play in addressing climate change. Thus, our commitment and action, we can contribute to the creation of sustainable, eco-friendly spaces for generations to come is what this is all about. Our discussion and sharing today will undoubtedly have a lasting impact on the future of our built environment. So again, thanks everybody for coming together to join in, and I look forward to the valuable insights and discussion that will unfold over the course of this afternoon. To borrow or not to borrow, borrow only if you can repay. 還得到先好借. This applies not only to financial loan, but also the way we live. We have been consuming natural resources at a rate that is beyond what the planet can regenerate. This means that we are essentially borrowing from the future to meet our current needs. And this borrowing comes with a cost. Our loan has reached an alarming level already. To put it into perspective, we require the equivalent of 1.6 planets to sustain our current lifestyles and take care of the waste that we produce. Climate change, caused by the emission of greenhouse gas, is one of the main drivers of this resource depletion. The effects of climate change, such as rising temperatures, extreme weather events, and sea level rise, are already being felt around the world. And obviously, in Hong Kong and southern China, we see flooding recently. And they are likely to become more severe in the coming years. Therefore, urgent action is needed to reduce our carbon footprint. First and foremost, we need to focus on the built environment because Hong Kong is a city of high-rises and buildings are typically among the highest energy users. In Hong Kong, buildings account for close to 90% of all electricity consumption and 60% of our city's carbon emissions. Without transforming how we design, construct, and operate buildings in the coming years, we cannot hope to achieve either Hong Kong's or our nation's carbon neutrality targets or truly start to solve the climate crisis. We must move beyond green building concepts to a new standard of zero carbon climate resilient building and infrastructure. Business as usual is no longer an option. Reaching Hong Kong carbon neutrality targets will require joint actions from all stakeholders, as well as government policy support for net zero building and infrastructural upgrades. The scale and speed of this transition will need to be unprecedented, but we cannot afford to delay. We must rise to this defining challenge of our time. Clearly, Hong Kong property development sector needs to be a key driver and in this process. We at Chinachem Group are playing our part. We also try to lead by examples, transforming our business into a groundbreaking, sustainable, and zero carbon operation. And in the following slides, I would share with you some of our approaches. Chinachem Group is more than a typical property developer. Being a private company with no individual shareholders or family control, we have a vision to elevate Chinachem Group into a purpose-driven enterprise, where we passionately uphold the values of social responsibility and environmental stewardship, alongside our financial success commitment to our stakeholders. Our mission is to create places with heart. We have adopted what we call a triple bottom line approach in our business that gives due consideration to social, economic, and environmental benefits. In other words, balancing people, prosperity, and planet, the 3 Ps in everything that we do. Guided by this 3 Ps philosophy, we have embarked on a journey to reduce the group's environmental impact. In particular, we have set out an ambitious CCG 3050 Plus roadmap, targeted at reducing our operational carbon emission by more than 50% in Scope 1 and 2 by 2030 from a 2020 baseline. This target aligns with the Paris Agreement goal of limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius, and we are the second real estate developer in Hong Kong to have completed Science-Based Targets Initiative validation with a 1.5 degree aligned target. In 2023, we achieved a 32.9% reduction in emissions from our 2020 baseline levels, higher than our previous target set at 29.3% by 2023, indicating a substantial progress towards our goals. We are very fortunate to have dedicated stakeholders, including architects, property management teams, suppliers, contractors, tenants, all working together to integrate innovative solutions and optimize operational efficiency in our journey towards low-carbon operations. Asking the right question is a problem half solved as we design for a sustainable future. This is why we spend a lot of time to enable that actually we ask the right questions so that we can get the right solution. This is why we have been rethinking how we do things from project design, construction to operation, and we have already implemented a number of new initiatives. In order to standardize our practices in sustainable property development and green building, guidelines for sustainable design and procurement were set up and implemented since 2021 and updated regularly according to the latest standards, covering every stage of property development, ranging from the selection of service providers to the design and construction phases. They represent the highest level of guidance that directs our pursuit of sustainable built environment. The guidelines incorporate selection criteria that prioritize tenders, demonstrating a strong commitment to sustainability through bonus requirements. Furthermore, the guideline outline both mandatory and optional sustainable elements, ensuring that our projects not only meet but surpass sustainable design standards. When we choose our suppliers and contractors, again, we use a two-envelope system, where the technical part actually has a marking scheme for sustainability. Chinachem Group recognizes that green financing plays a key role in our broader efforts transitioning to a low-carbon economy. Our first green loan was executed in 2019, and since then, we have secured a series of ever more ambitious sustainable financing facilities to support our people, planet, and prosperity-based development ambitions. As of December 2023, we have secured 4 green loans and 2 sustainability-linked loan agreements. And in the financial year of 2022 and 2023, more than half of the group's total financing facilities are green or sustainability-linked, ensuring that our projects have taken related aspects into consideration, such as operational flexibility, energy management, and modern design to achieve greater efficiency and lower environmental impact. Here are 2 projects that are facilitated by our green loan. In collaboration with ESR, APAC's largest real asset manager, we are proud to build a new cold storage and logistics center in Choi, the largest cold storage facility ever in Hong Kong in the last 20 years. It will play a major role in pioneering the future of logistics in Hong Kong and consolidating the city's leadership as a regional logistic hub. To finance the construction project, ESR and Chinachem successfully closed the first green loan for logistics sector, worth $8.8 billion. The cold storage and logistics center is due to be complete in 2027 and will have the highest green building standards with Green Plus and LEED Platinum. To promote green transport, we are exploring EV chargers as a service to cater for future demand for electric commercial vehicles. In addition, tenants in the new facility will be able to maximize the use of space rented, including the ability to expand to 3 levels of racking space. The other project is the Tung Chung Business Hub, comprising commercial center, office building, and data centers designed with sustainability in mind, which will be the lowest embodied carbon development in Hong Kong. And we successfully also arranged an $4.8 billion 5-year secure green loan facilities with 3 major banks for this project. The project will meet the increasing demand for digital infrastructure in Hong Kong and its surrounding area. Compared to traditional data center, our greenest data center ever in Hong Kong will consume less energy and can minimize negative impact on the environment. In addition, we will provide green leases to operators who share the same principles, aiming to achieve the first fully green operated and environmental friendly data center. Another project is the use of MIC in our Tung Chung project. Not Tung Chung, Tung King Street project. Again, this involved the using of off-site precast volumetric building modulars rather than building everything on site. It has many advantages of increasing speed, efficiency, construction safety, and better quality. Chinachem is the first private developer to adopt MIC for our private residential development in Hong Kong. And this is in partnership with Urban Renewable Authority. And I'm happy to see our main contractor, Gammon, here with us. Thank you. At a time when the construction industry is facing substantial labor shortages and there is a pressure to get new homes to market as quickly as possible, MIC simply has to be the way of the future, even before its environmental and social benefits are taken into account. Obviously, there are many environmental benefits, including the reduction of construction waste, air and noise pollution will be much less, leading to low carbon emission. And other MIC project in the pipeline for Chinachem, I'm happy to report, is our project at Tung Chung Traction Substation. This project is larger in scale than the Tung King Street project. It will offer approximately 2,000 units and will be the tallest residential development in Hong Kong built using the MIC at 48-story. In the development of the Kwai Chung Cold Storage Logistics Center and Tung Chung Business Hub, at the design stage, building information model, like all our new kind of development project, is being developed and deployed. MIMEP is also adopted. Through BIM, MIMEP adoption is realized with thorough consideration of spatial requirement, technical feasibility, factory assembly, and also comprehensive review of the CSD with the shop drawings and fabrication drawings. It is something that we use in all our development, and really is a way for us to improve efficiency as well as ensure that all the construction work is environmental friendly. Apart from new projects, we also try to do better with our existing buildings. At our flagship headquarters building, Nina Tower in Tsuen Wan, we have replaced the entire cooling system with Hong Kong's first zero-carbon chiller plant powered by artificial intelligence. Technology has moved ahead since the completion of the building, and we simply cannot afford to ignore the efficiency gains that can now be realized. In collaboration with CLPE, this project is expected to reduce the energy consumption of Linear Tower complex by some 50%, translating to 7,000 tons of annual carbon reductions, or the equivalent of 300,000 trees. Although we achieved a satisfying figure of 32.8% reduction in carbon intensity compared to the 2020 baseline, there are still many work to do in future, and we shall seek out new technologies and innovative business model to assist us to achieve our targets. We are engaging our tenants in making the transition to net zero operation by introducing the Green Tenant Engagement Program. We invite all our tenants in commercial, retail, or residential units to participate in various green actions that help reduce carbon emissions. Our initiatives range from providing useful tips and information, offering guidelines for green fit-out, to the installation of RVM machines. These actions are designed to help reduce carbon emissions and promote sustainability throughout our properties. By actively engaging with them and offering rewards like management fee rebates, we believe we can lead a united approach that delivers the progress and outcomes needed to protect our planet for future generations. We recognize that speeding up innovation and scaling up new low-carbon technologies is crucial to winning the race. For this reason, we have also launched an accelerator program called CCG Accel in partnership with Hong Kong Science Park, which has already nurtured 2 cohorts of PropTech innovation startups. In this way, we aim to identify and cultivate groundbreaking low-carbon solutions that address current challenges and boost our reliance to future changes. Apart from that, we are also strengthening our industrial academia collaborations to nurture and inspire future technologies, including collaboration with Hong Kong Polytech University and the Chinese University of Hong Kong, both in Hong Kong as well as the Shenzhen campus, to develop innovative solutions for sustainable development that can contribute to the group and the Greater Bay Area. In short, Chinachem Group is making impactful and meaningful contribution to reducing carbon emissions and mitigating climate change. But we are also very conscious that is still very insufficient. If we want to come anywhere close to reaching net zero targets by 2030, we need to keep accelerating our efforts. Most importantly, we need everybody in the community, that means everyone in this room, to work together to tackle this global problem. Reaching net zero will be a lengthy uphill journey, but if we all pull together, we can make significant progress. I believe that with hard work, determination, and partnership, Hong Kong can become a leader in the global transition to a net zero carbon future. We can help pave the way for our city, our nation, and even the world to achieve a better tomorrow and also the carbon neutrality that we target and aim for. The time to act is now. Let's work together to make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Architect Donald Choi. Please be seated. Please welcome our moderator of this session, Engineering Dr. Cary Chen. Please also welcome our panelist, Architect Donald Choi, Executive Director and CEO of Chinachem Group, Mr. Erdal Elver, President and Chief Executive Officer of Siemens Limited, Hong Kong and Macao, Mr. Kevin O'Brien, Chief Executive of Gammon Construction Limited, and Architect Ivy Leigh, Managing Director and Partner, Head of Sustainability, Leigh & Orange Limited. Please be on stage for the panel discussion. Engineering Dr. Chen, over to you, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Here on stage, we have Donald, the developer. We have Kevin O'Brien, which is a constructor. Is it contractor? And we have a technology provider, Erdal, and we have a professional architect, Ivy. So we have a very good key actors of the industry. We have a very good cross-section. Well, together we can really do something special. Now, because the focus is on, well, the first thing is to take stocks of what we have been doing. So can we go around the panelists to tell us what actually we have done for the industry for carbon neutrality? Can we start on that side with Ivy?
Oh, wow. Surprise. Thank you. Thank you, Cary. Good afternoon. Very nice to meet you all today. I think I would start with not my own projects, but in general, I'll talk about Hong Kong as a whole. I think congratulate to all of our efforts being made for the past few years. I'm just referring to the Hong Kong Green Building in Action report issued by Hong Kong GBC yesterday. As of last year, end of last year, over almost 4,000 buildings has been certified by BEAM+. And the total carbon emission, sorry, I'm reading this data important. The total carbon emission saved by this assessed projects in the new buildings category reached 1.28 million tons per year, which is equivalent to planting 56 million trees, which is a very good success. But we are still using trees. Unfortunately, Donald and I, we're still using trees to represent carbon. I think one of our mission is in the very near future we should talk about carbon in itself rather than use trees as a unit, so that that's more close to our target to reach carbon neutral. Another thing is you could see that Hong Kong becoming a very successful green finance hub. I think we're actually the leading green finance hub. And I think all of you could see very active engagement amongst professionals, governments, all the stakeholders in terms of talking about how to push for carbon neutrality in our built environment in Hong Kong. And at the same time, there are actually 2 new green building assessment tools being developed and launched this year. One of them is the BI Building Interiors version 2. Why is it important to bring it out is the old version is we're focusing on commercial properties only. And with the new version, we're actually covering also residential units, which is very important because we are not just covering commercial, which, but it's covering residential. It's your family, your neighbors, your mother-in-law's family, it's everybody, in the community will be involved in achieving this. So, and another one is existing building global version. And why existing building is very important, we have a big bulk of existing building, and they are challenging us with carbon emission. And we have to look after existing bulk as well. So I think all in all, we are actually tracking on the right track, but we do need to accelerate this efforts as well.
Yes, thank you. Erdal, can you tell us what Siemens is doing?
Thank you. Good afternoon. First of all, allow me to share with all of you what we did as a company. We set ourselves to target to become carbon neutral by 2030. Yes, we know Hong Kong set the target to become 2050, that's 20 years later. So we are a bit more, let's say, ambitious, and we did already quite a lot and reduced, based on the year 2019, around 50% of our company's CO2 emissions. And more importantly, we are in fact providing technologies to our customers, and that is one of our major goal and missions, to help our customers to reduce their CO2 emissions of about 190 million tons based on the year 2019. With this, again, we are in fact providing technologies to help our customers in different sectors to optimize their operations to reduce their CO2 emissions. Now, more concrete, in the building sector. Now we are talking about the buildings. And as we all know, buildings are emitting around 60% of the CO2 emissions. I remember from Donald's beautiful slides. And there is a need for action. So we have to make the buildings more energy efficient and help the building owners, facility managers, again, to reach their goals to become carbon neutral. And now here the technologies comes in. And here we say the digital transformation is closely interlinked with these net zero transformations. And digital transformation is one of the major levers to achieve our goals to become carbon neutral. Of course, there's a lot to talk about the technologies. I will just pick a couple of them. And once again, using digital technologies, I can build digital twins of a building. With this, I can simulate operations virtually and learn before I build about its performance and use, again, technologies to optimize its operation. I can use AI technologies to optimize operations, and we have developed a white space cooling optimization technology, which we are deploying in data centers, which has been also mentioned nicely. Cooling in data centers is a crucial topic. As you know, they are consuming a lot of energy, and with this heating up, and if they're cooled down, let's say statically, without looking into their operations, we can consume a lot of energy. But using the data generated, again, through their operations, and cooling down based on IT loads. In some hours, more data throughput, in some others, less. We can optimize, again, the data center's cooling optimization, and with this, we can save up to 20–25% of energy consumption, and with this reduce the CO2 emissions. We have used the similar technology in a project with Gammon Constructions in the Cyberport 5, if I'm correct, is the extension project. Again, also they're optimizing the chiller operations using AI technologies, using sensors and big data, and learning from the behavior of the operations and applying the digital technologies to optimize the operations of the chiller, and with this also reduce CO2 emissions. I can talk more, but I will probably come back later and share with you more examples. Once again, technologies is one of the major levers besides designs and other elements, one of the major levers to optimize the building operations, and with this, reduce CO2 emissions, reduce energy consumptions, and as said, I'm happy to share more later.
Thank you, Erdal. How about Kevin?
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Cary. I'm going to correct an error from the first thing this morning. This morning, when I mentioned the sponsors, I forgot to mention Hong Kong Electric. So apologies, Hong Kong Electric, also a sponsor for today's event. Stock taking. Stock taking is not just about assessing what we're doing, but it's also thinking about what we've not done. And so for me, in accounting terms, shrinkage, but what haven't we done as well, and what should we be doing more of? And in terms of what we're doing at Gammon, it's interesting to reflect on, not just in Gammon, but the whole built environment. In terms of Climate Action Plan 2050, embodied carbon is not part of the calculation. So why do contractors need to do anything if all you're doing is creating the built assets? So should I sit back and do nothing and wait for CLP and Hong Kong Electric and everybody else in the room? Of course not, because quite simply, there will be no business left if that's your mindset. I like Donald's words about togetherness, what we do together, because this is about what we do for every single person in this room, every single person in this city, every single person, the country, the planet. And so for me, it's about what we do as like-minded individuals to ensure we're addressing the most urgent crisis here. Last year, we were very proud we signed up to science-based targets, and we've been accredited, etc. And of course, now you have to check in your progress. And so this month, we're in our 1-year anniversary, and so we're doing a stock take of how we're doing. And we're doing well in some areas, we're doing not so well in other areas. Over 60% of what I need to do will be achieved through what I do in steel and concrete. Over 60%. And that steel is rebar, that steel is structural steel, that steel is structural elements that go in the ground. But then there's also a lot of temporary steel. And so temporary steel where I can reuse it from site to site. And if I look at what we do in Hong Kong and compare it to what I see on sites around the world elsewhere in Asia, we can be doing more. I don't want that steel to end up as scrap. And we need to be using more green steel as an example. But if I look at other markets, they're already ahead of us. And that's where we need to be chasing more, working with our supply chain. We need to be pushing the government along. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on in our industry. There's a lot of stuff that we do working together with like-minded developers, with like-minded architects, engineers, etc. And the one thing that we're trying to have the conversation within our business is, what do our customers want? But even more than that, what do our customers' customers want to do? Because at the end of the day, when we've got multinationals, not forgetting that we're an international financial center, when multinationals are approaching landlords, they're looking at the accreditation and the performance of those buildings. So I need to be working with people that have a similar interest in what we want to achieve and helping them to deliver. If customers don't care about sustainability, and we're talking about there being an overload of work in the coming 10 to 15 years in our sector because of all of the work that's needed around Northern Metropolis and the Greater Bay, then we have choices to make. And the choices that you have to make is not just about where the money is. The choice has to be, what do people in your organization want you to do? And if we talk specifically about the younger generation and sort of taking it maybe away from the technology and everything else, what do the young people that are coming in the industry want the company that they work for to care about?
Thank you. Donald?
Well, how are we doing? I think, if we look at our new build, the new buildings, I think we are doing quite well, right? A lot of them have achieved very high environmental standard and rating. It is not uncommon, even for Leigh to achieve platinum in Hong Kong. But they are building in isolation. I think there are still a lot of room to improve the energy efficiency, especially when Hong Kong embarking on massive infrastructure development in northern metropolis, the Cary, Tianhai, and so on. District cooling, right? It's going to actually reduce the overall kind of energy usage and increase the energy efficiency. So that not every building need to provide individual, cooling system. I think this is a way that we should further look at, how we can further improve energy efficiency in our community. But it is not sufficient if we just look at new build. As I mentioned, our Nina Tower has gone through upgrading. And it is very important for Hong Kong because our city, that existing building stock will be a larger and larger proportion, and it will be significant in how our city could achieve carbon reduction. And for new building, why we are doing so well, we can see that government has certain policy to support green facilities and equipment and so on, including additional incentive on GFA if you have achieved a certain standard. Now, my wish is for the government to extend this incentive to existing stock and owner so that they can have that resources to improve. And this is where I think we must ask ourselves, where our resources in our community should be spent and how we can benefit not only our immediate kind of generation, but also create a better environment for the future generation.
Yes, I think, thank you. So we've heard the panelists, Ivy, Leigh, she's talk about how she's really expanding the scope of assessment, setting new standards, widening the scope. She has not mentioned what Leigh and Orange has done. She has done a lot of award-winning projects. We've received the award in Indonesia last year. So she's been actually doing a lot of work in designing green buildings. Erdal, technology provider, IT, smart technologies, and all this, which is very, very important for the industry to move forward to carbon neutrality. Kelvin, I think it's very good for you to mention about embodied carbon, life cycle carbon, which I think is all absent in the government's climate action plan. Actually, is representing about 50 to 60% of our whole life cycle. Is very, very important, and I'm very glad to hear that Kelvin Gammon is really addressing this issue very, very seriously. And Donald, I think, well, you just mentioned it, well, you have achieved about 30 to 40% of the reduction already. Now, okay, all have been doing a very, very good job in the past years or so. The target operational carbon for the carbon is only 30 to 40% by 2050. But we've heard what Jim told us this morning is that he does not see any reduction in energy demand in the past, I don't know how many years. So, well, what is really happening? What is really missing? And, well, are we still very optimistic about meeting the 2050 target? If not, well, what should we be focusing on? So, any ideas, Ivy?
Feel like exam. I have something to share. I think we are doing, we're all making an effort, but my feeling is we're not making enough effort. We're still so much, to do. Particularly, we're still not really having carbon neutral building in Hong Kong in a way, and we don't even have a consistent definition or approach of what is carbon zero building that we could adapt here. I think, regardless of all the positives and all the efforts being made, there's still something that we must push for is a consistent, recognized approach of calculating carbon, how to measure it, and make them very transparent, trackable, and be able to apply to all the projects not just new projects, but existing projects. That's number one. Number two is, as you can see, we still have a lot of resistance in the whole system. The cost issues, there are mindset issue, the compliance issue that is slowing down our progress to achieve carbon neutral. One of my urge is really we can collectively look at an innovation-friendly procurement system that need to bring to a transformation of the whole value chain, as Ronan mentioned in the keynote. What does that mean is, at the moment, our procurement system is not really encouraging green and innovation to a large extent. We are not putting carbon or green next to cost. We are not assessing it in our marking scheme. We are not really tracking that performance. So I would hope we could urge the private sector as well as the government to sit down with the whole value chain to come up with a transformation in the procurement system so that that could help the built environment and give incentive and motivation to everybody, in the industry, no matter you are manufacturer, your vendors, your contractor, your designers, to be able to share that the benefit and risk and whatever, we have a common goal. But after all, achieving carbon zero is also, we have to make that business work as well, So how to make that business work so that we can incentivize, the industry, I think that is something, it's more than academic now. It must be something that we'll work together to come up with that new procurement system.
Okay, so is the whole value chain working together? Clear definitions, clear target, data acquisition, and transparency. I think that is more or less what Ivy has talked about.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin, you've...
Yeah, so picking up on Jim's point this morning and listened to Donald and Erdal just here this afternoon, data centers. And everybody in the room cannot have ignored AI, the talk about AI. And now everybody in data center world is talking about an AI-enabled data center, which makes the power density higher and therefore the energy requirements go up. So the world will not stand still in terms of technology. But what we've got to do is move it as fast as technology is moving, that increasing the demand for power with the sustainable solutions to counter that impact. And that's where things like companies like Erdal's company, Jonathan's company, and CLPE that Donald mentioned earlier, in terms of using smart engineering to work with the old-fashioned engineering in terms of optimization of things. But the other thing that we need to think about is the other thing that was mentioned this morning, what's in the laboratory. And the important thing for us here, the important thing in the room, is keep an eye on what's emerging. Because one of the things that take my hat off to organizations like Donald's is the pioneering spirit. Because if we looked at something else that we saw from HSBC earlier, is the cost of things when you want to be the pioneer. And then when we start to see other second movers, third movers, mass market move towards them, the cost coming down, so the economies of scale kicking in. So for me, you're always going to need the pioneers. For certain things like hydrogen, we heard from Diane earlier, we need government regulation to frame it. But other things, as private organizations, as individuals, as leaders of business, we can move now. And we can start to show the rest of the market the way to go. So we need a mixture of the frameworks that we're going to get around the bigger picture stuff. But on some of it, we also need to keep an eye on what's happening in the technology world, what's happening in the university laboratories. Last week, I was listening in out of Cambridge about the reuse of concrete. So reuse of concrete to go back in the concrete mix, which then helps us deal with end-of-life carbon. Yeah. We've been speaking about urban regeneration, so keeping an eye in front as well as dealing with today as well, for me.
Yeah, early adopters, I think, is very, very important. Well, we have to try it out. We have to explore new technologies, try it out, and then I think we are the pioneers. Yeah. Elder?
I'd just like to take up those two important topics. The one is in the procurement, in deciding what we are taking, still money plays an important role. We often say, hey, first you have to look into the life cycle cost, that's the one thing. And now we have to also look into, hey, what is the carbon emission of the offer or of the solution, what I'm looking at. And I should look and choose the solution for my building, be it the building operation, be it its construction, which is not only cost and life cycle efficient, but also CO2 efficient, respectively CO2 reduced. So that is one aspect which we have to look at, and also change the mindset of the decision makers by deciding what we do. And as Kevin beautifully explained, technologies are there. We have to really deploy and utilize it. Data centers are growing like hell. We are using AI. Yes, it needs more throughput, data throughput, but also we can use the AI to optimize, as I have just mentioned. Again, the technologies are there. We need to be, how to say it, a bit more aggressive. And as you said, will we achieve our goal to reduce CO2 emissions, respectively our 2030 target, respectively 2050 target? We have discussed a bit, Cary, before we started here. Well, yes, it's challenging. But if we accelerate our activities, what we do, if we accelerate the digital transformations, how we say, accelerate the natural transformations, I do believe we have still the chance. Yeah. Again, with building digital twins, I can optimize before I build my building. Again, using the digital twins, watching its operations, and seeing where I am consuming most of the energy. We have developed a system, what we call Navigator, which we have deployed in different buildings here in Hong Kong, but also in other areas of the world. For example, in Taipei 101, you might have now heard, respective seen, or Nanshan Plaza next to it. So this is a digital system which watches the energy consumption in different areas, makes it transparent. And with this you can see, oh, there's a chiller running all the time, but I don't need. I can turn off if less users in the room or during the night, for example. And with this, I can optimize its operation. So again, technologies are there, but we need to dare to deploy, and we need to dare to accelerate our deployment that we can achieve our goals.
Yeah, I think very true. I think according to IEA, I think 70% of the technology is there already. So I think we have no reason to wait. You also mentioned that changing the mindset of developer is very important. So I have Don sitting next to me. Is there any comments on that?
Well, again, I think, for business, obviously, everyone will very much look at the risk and return, and try to balance them. And that is why a lot of existing business, they are quite risk averse in the sense that if it hasn't been tried before, don't do it. If this is a new material, let someone do it first. But if we all have this mentality, then there is no progress. Right? And Chinachem Group has been trying to be a first mover in a lot of this new frontier. While we are not reckless in just adopting any new material or new technologies, we did our careful study. We understand the pros and cons and limitation, and we try to actually adopt something that is not absolutely, rocket science for the first time. If you talk about MIC, has been, in the market for decades, but in Hong Kong it's only being implemented, realized in the last few years, and so on. So I think, first of all, leadership is important, in how to adopt the right technology at the right time, and also need to be able to allow small failure as well. I think one problem with our industry is that not only we are risk averse, but we actually do not encourage learning from small exercises. What we have been doing is doing small project. For example, Booking Street is a small project. It's almost a sandbox pilot project where we work with Gammon and all the consultants and also the regulators to develop a system that could facilitate this type of technology to move forward. When we have that solution, then we go for a larger application. In Dongchong is 2,000 units. So I think there are rooms for us to learn, adopt, working together, share information. So I think this is very important, where we share our experience, where something is not working so well. So, I have tried, I have failed. You don't need to try it and fail to learn that exercise. We can share all this. And if we have a successful formula, let's share with the industry stakeholder as well.
Yeah, I think you can lead us to make informed decisions, but because you have the experience, you've tried a lot of things, then, well, these are information that you can share with the industry. Now, together, we have make a difference to our mother nature. We have make difference to our climate, etc., etc. And Donald, you've just said, well, together, well, we can make a change. Well, I would like to go around the table and see, well, how we can work together as an industry, because a lot of you have mentioned about value chain. I think this is very important for us to work together. And then, but the issue is how. So can I start with Ivy? How we should be working together?
There are lots of areas, and we have talked about lots already, but I want to highlight something. Donald, you brought up the example of MIC. Indeed, the MIC show that our city, all of us, will be willing to make changes and transformation, because as an architect, designing with MIC, I'm no longer like drawing whatever I like, planning it and pass it on to the builders, pass it on to the engineers. I have to, from day one, work with the engineers, work with the contractors, work with vendors. So that is a transformation, that's a change. And also that also changed the procurement system. So the contractor, vendors, government, they have to change. Regulators have to change the regulations to cope. End users' mindset have to change. That actually already show that we can make changes. We can actually make very fundamental changes in our system, but we can't stop at just MIC. That's just one innovation. Well, we have a lot to do, but we could ride on this example, this system, to do more. And I'm afraid that the general resistance nowadays is construction cost, against innovation. And as you know, any innovation have to go through a cycle, a curve. It's always like, you have to pay more resources, pay more cost to achieve it. And then once it's already normalized in the market, then the costs come down. But generally, our society, our quality will go up. We have to go through many of this, small cycle. And I would really like to, in the coming future, in the near future, we could work more with material research, vendor suppliers, because we are not doing enough in terms of embodied carbon in building materials. We are very far off the par. And the reason why is compliance issue, like Donald said, we're afraid of making mistakes, non-compliance, there's a risk there, people reluctant to accept new materials, there's a cost issues. There also, because our existing standards and specification in general really need to be upgraded. We have to bring up our specification, bring carbon reduction into that, so that all the stakeholders could see that target and contribute to that. And that's how I feel is we all have a will, but we do need that roadmap to achieve it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very, very important. Regulations are really specifying the basics. I think BEAM Plus, well, iterated it, and I think it's really up to the developers, your pioneers, to raise the standard further. Erdal, yeah.
Well, I just like that. Well, driving, well, natural transformation, digital transformation requires coordinated effort between different parties. In fact, we need to join forces. Governments needs to define frameworks which can motivate companies, society to change things. We from the industry side, from technology side, need to develop and bring in technologies and innovations. And of course, society needs to also accept and work together. So that is important. In this context, it has been already mentioned by Donald, sharing best practices is, I do believe, one of the most important things across different, let's say, verticals, respectively, industries. So that's the one thing. And also here, BEC is playing an important role. Thank you to BEC. There are different committees and working groups where different members can join and share the experiences which we are doing, which also my team is doing. So that is something which we need to continue. And also important that we need to find a kind of, let's say, standardization framework as a guide for, well, optimizing, retrofitting buildings. And I do believe also the Hong Kong Green Building Council has published a guidebook for retrofitting, at least I have it in my notes, which is good, which we should also utilize and also do similar things. And last point, we are talking building partner ecosystems. And also we as Siemens developed a open business platform which offers our partners, customers to utilize the open building platform and develop solutions. So this partner ecosystem where different, let's say, parties, developers, customers, partner can come and develop solutions and offer solutions to different issues will become more and more relevant. And that is why we as companies, Siemens also teaming up with Microsoft, NVIDIA, AWS and similar companies to develop solutions for our customers, innovations, technology solutions, again, to improve things. So those are also important elements which we need to consider and further develop.
Yes, I think, yeah, thank you for raising the retrofitting. Guidebook is actually done by Donald's committee. Kevin.
2 points from me. One is don't underestimate the power of mindset. And power of mindset, particularly legacy mindset. We've been around building things for millennia. And we're still building things the same way, actually. In the same way with the same materials we've been building for centuries, if not millennia. And so the legacy mindset is a great thing that we need to work against. So that's one thing. The psychology of what you need to do on this transformation journey. There are no secrets by doing the right thing for the planet. So look outside and borrow the ideas. The other thing I'd say with the built environment, we do focus a lot, and particularly in terms of embodied carbon, we focus on the big ticket items, as I mentioned earlier, 60+% concrete and steel. So we focus on that. But if we look out to the fashion industry, who are dealing with things of what happens when this hotel refurbishes, what happens to the carpet, what happens. So learn from other industries, learn from other geographies. There is so much being done for the other smaller portion that we can actually just go and borrow their technology, borrow their ideas, borrow their techniques, and help us pick up some more of the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, I think very important. We need to stick our heads up, from time to find solutions, break boundaries. I think it's very important. Donald.
How do we work together? I think an important kind of prerequisite, obviously, is the aligned interest, right? I think for carbon reduction, I think there's no doubt we have a common goal. But more importantly is back to some of the comments. We are using our old procurement protocol that actually set up barrier and distrust between different parties of the same industry. We can achieve a lot more if we can actually build up this trust. So, the contractor is not going to cheat us, and, architects will also do their best to give the most efficient design, and not just for, winning awards and iconic building at the, disadvantage of the developer and so on. So we need to create this trust. And how to create trust is really to be transparent in what we really want, so that we can discuss openly and see how each party can contribute to our common goal.
Yeah, I think, Donald, you more or less wrap up this discussion already. We have 40 seconds. Can I take 1 or 2 questions from the floor?
Plus 46, exceed 46.
Or plus it's already. Okay, can I take one question from the floor, if any? Evan.
Thank you, Cary. Edwin now from the Green Earth. Can I ask the panelists whether it is practical if the government set standards for new buildings and for old building, 2 different standards? For new building, of course, the standard must be higher, that they must be carbon zero and also included embedded carbon zero. If they can achieve that, then the land tax or land rates for the developer will be reduced as an incentive to drive them to do so. Is it something practical for the government to take start? Thank you.
Yeah. Carrots and sticks.
Well, as a developer, definitely welcome all incentive given by the government. Right? Also, it's not only for new building. It can be for existing building. If you can achieve a certain energy efficiency, then maybe the rent and rate could be reduced and so on. So there are various methods that government can assist in accelerating, pushing, this goal forward.
For me, it's important that the incentives correlate in results. And that's, not forgetting that if we look at the Hong Kong government fiscal reserves, all right, fiscal deficit in the previous financial year, but our government have plentiful resources and they can be focused in the right areas. So the incentives are needed to get everybody moving and put everybody on a level playing field. But in the meantime, we still need to move. Because at the end of the day, depending on whichever government that you are in, whichever jurisdiction, if you frame net zero in a different way, then we're not actually doing what we think we're actually doing, which is stock taking, right? What's missing? And that's why I mentioned about what's missing in the first place. It doesn't mean to say, because it's framed in a different way, we do nothing about it. We still have to move. So we'll move with the incentives and the drive from the government, but at the same time, I will move faster because my customers that are sat in this room want me to, and my team that sit in my office and on my projects want me to.
Yeah, thank you very much, all the panel members, and thank you for your contribution. Thank you.
Thank you.